Finding Yoda is a comfort challenge / social experiment in which you network with celebrity mentors. Yoda is a reference to our beloved wise teacher figure from Star Wars movies. And by celebrity mentors, I mean successful people who really inspires you and who you can seek advice from, whether it is related to professional development or health and fitness or interpersonal relationships. For the past 3 months, I have taken on this challenge and I have interviewed 20 plus Yodas across different industries, each for their unique specialized area of wisdom. For example, I interviewed a manager who worked in retailing for 25 years on her strategies to communicate in an assertive and effective way in work setting. I interviewed a filmmaker on how to use theater as an educational tool for young people to realize the power they have in their voice. I actually for this upcoming week, I am currently preparing for 2 interviews. I will be meeting up with an aerial dance teacher and will learn with her exercises for a girl to build up upper body strength. I will also be meeting with an entrepreneur who was a UCLA alumni, and I will ask him about his experience when he first started out his business and how he was able to maintain his mental fortitude when his idea was challenged by the public. But for this video today, I would like to share my experience dipping my toe into the water for the first time and how I got my interview with my first Yoda. In a way, I was motivated or rather pushed into taking on this challenge because I was so unhappy with my career situation earlier this year. During the initial 6 months after graduation, I felt as if I slipped into a into a rut. I was working for a small company and I was doing mostly random administrative tasks. Occasionally, I would get a small task where I can use a little bit more creativity, but in general, I could not develop any skill sets besides compiling data sheets, and I could not even get to analyze them. My social interaction was also pretty much confined to the small office space, the few people working there, and my laptop screen. I felt extremely restricted, as if I was living in this small reality and I did not know how to break out. I did not know what career I wanted, and I could not see the path I could take to get out there. I was in a pretty bad boat. My parents, all my family members were in China, and they had no idea how I could navigate my way through the American society. Most of my friends, my local friends, were still in college and they were confused about the real adult world as much as me. So I could not really turn to them for guidance either. But I really need advice. I really need a way, someone who can point me to resources, but who? My curiosity and dissatisfaction with my career eventually led me to a career panel hosted by the UCLA Career Center. The panel featured a group of outspoken and intelligent female leaders across LA advocating for social justice, ranging from innovative politicians to nonprofit organization leaders. As I was in the audience seat, I remember feeling completely awestruck by the amount of knowledge those women had and the passion they infused into their work. They were able to break complex social problems into such clear and tiny and chewable pieces in a way I've never seen before, and then each of them came up with unique approaches to address these problems. And I remember thinking, this is the kind of role I want. I'm not saying that I want to work in politics, but I want I want a job that I'm passionate about, and I want to work in a role where I actually get to use my brain, my knowledge, my heart, and my voice to make an actual impact in the world. This is the kind of role I want. But since I did not know how to exactly get to a role like this, those women, they knew. They came, I mean, they graduated from college. Maybe I could grab coffee with them and then ask them about how they embarked on their journey and eventually landed into the role they had today. Frankly, this is not the first time I had idea like this. I heard about the phrase information interview from a long time ago, but I never dared to do it. I mean, I'm very shy and quiet, and I could not even speak up in parties. How could I bring myself in front of strangers and asking to grab coffee together, especially if they're so much more successful than me? But this time, I had no other options. I could not rely on my family for guidance. I could not rely on my friends. I could not rely on the three other people, three other colleagues in the small office. The only chance I have for a possible change is to overcome my discomfort and talk up to these people. So after the interview, I joined the huddle of students asking questions surrounding the panelist, and I walked up to a specific panelist who I really liked. She worked for the city council, and she was part of the program that facilitate interracial dialogues across LA. I walked up to her, but I did not dare to ask her for an interview, and I did not even know a proper way to ask. So instead, I asked her, "Have you ever had information interview before?" And she said, "Oh yes, all the time. I got all my job offers from information interviews. Actually never applied for a job." So I said, "Oh, that's great. Do you have is there any way you can ask people so it's less likely for them to reject you?" And she said, "Yes, of course there is." So she started to teach me all the techniques I can use in emailing so that people are more likely to say yes. And I was thinking, while she was explaining this, I was thinking, that's great because I'm gonna use those strategies on you. Please don't reject me. Anyways, before she left the panel, she gave all the students present her business card. After I got home, I started to email her, but I still did not dare to ask her for an interview. So I asked if I may come down to the city hall and observe a meeting. And she said, "Oh yes, of course, we have a meeting open to public in 2 days." So I hopped on the train. It was an hour ride. I got to the city hall, sat through a 2-hour meeting. I was only one of the 2 people who's actually from the public who's not part of that meeting. But it was cool. So after the meeting, she saw me, she recognized me, and we said hi. We talked about the meeting, we talked about the interior design of the city hall, before I was finally able to ask her if she's willing, if I could interview her, because I freshly graduated out of college and I felt really lost career-wise. And I would really appreciate her guidance. Um, she gave me a very kind and understanding smile. I think she knew all along that I wanted to ask her for an interview, but she knew that it took me coming all the way from across the town and to sit through the meeting and to comment on all those random things before I could ask. She was a very kind person, and she said yes, I'd love to. And I went back home, sent her an email, scheduled a date and time, and that was how I got my first interview. My first interview was very awkward, I'm not gonna lie. Especially when she was asking me questions, I would I would get really nervous and started to babble. But I mean, those kind of things, they only get better with practice. It's like interviews, dates, conversations, kind of like tennis, really. You only get better by being as a part of the game. But before we wrap up today, I would like to share the email format that she taught me to use. So basically, if you want to ask someone for interview as such, you always want to make the email short and concise and clear, because people are busy and people are smart. People want to know where you come from. And you want to show appreciation you want to show appreciation for their time by using phrases such as, I can meet like locations convenient for you, or I can keep the meeting under 20 minutes, under 10 minutes if you need to. And I also found it was a useful strategies that always meeting up. I like to take advantage of career panels where I would really ask a thought-provoking question in the end, so the panelists will remember my face, and then it's easier when I was emailing them, because I could say, hey, I'm this person who asked this question, and they would really find me interesting already by then, and then it's more likely for them to say yes. Alright, this is the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Besides the vlog, I also have a writing blog, and I also host creative and interactive workshops to instill self-empowerment to young people. If you want to check out more blog posts or find out more about what I do, please use the link below. Thank you very much. And my departing words today would be, ask. It will get easier.